Hey, what's up, folks? And welcome to another episode of the Bate Escape. In today's episode, I have a conversation with BK Bator Bry, which you can follow on Twitter at XY_BK Bry. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Yo, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to talk to you.
I know you as well. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. I'm stoked to chat with you.
I know, I feel like we've just been like kind of cruising each other online. And
All
not
right.
really, yeah, not really like kind of having a formal conversation. So this is nice. So thanks for like having a chat with me.
Of course. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm super excited and I've listened to a few of your recent episodes and I thought they were super interesting to listen to people that I've been, following on Twitter for a while. It's so just cool to put like even just like a voice to an online persona type of thing. It's like awesome. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, very nice. So you're in Brooklyn.
I am. I'm in Brooklyn. Yep. And you're in California, right?
I am in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm originally from California, but from like the San Francisco Bay Area. But yeah, I've been
Hmm.
here. I've been here in New York for about 6.5 years.
That's a really
Um,
long time. I only
yeah, yeah.
I only survived 3 years.
In New York.
Yeah, I was there. I graduated art school and then I went over there because I was going to be some big hotshot photographer. That didn't happen, but
Yeah.
life has different plans for you. I was just like, what, just roll with the punches, and I feel
Yeah.
like I'm doing what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing now, which is
Nice.
nice.
So wait, are you from Los Angeles originally, and you moved to New York and then came back, or what's the story?
Yes, that
Oh,
part.
got it. Got it. And
Yeah, and it was fun. I really enjoyed New York. It was a really cool scene.
yeah.
Met really cool people and had a really fun time.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's a
don't
cool
think I could.
city.
Yeah, do you feel like you're gonna stay there for the long run, or do you feel like you're gonna get out of there?
I mean, my husband and I actually just bought our apartment, so I think we're here for at least the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And the industry that I'm in, I'm like in the fashion apparel world. Like, there's just so many more opportunities here in New York than there are in so many other cities. So for my job and career, unless I change and pivot, which long story short, may be happening in the near term future. This is kind of the place where I feel like I should be for my career. And yeah, we've talked about when we do leave New York, we'll probably go back to California, maybe back to the Bay Area, but ultimate end goal at some point would be to, retire in Palm Springs like every other old gay, I feel like does that stuff. So, but we're totally like, we love Palm Springs. Like when we were in California, we would, take trips down to Palm Springs and just love the community and everything. So it's been,
Hmm.
I guess, like a goal when we are able to retire and everything at some point in the distant future.
I love Palm Springs. It's such an easy drive down
Right,
from LA to Palm Springs. It's really like 2 hours,
right,
and
right,
it feels faster coming back. So it's a really
right.
nice place to be. I don't know if I could retire there. I feel like it's a little too hot for me.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I say that fully, like knowing that, like I've never been there and living through like peak actual summer. Like when I'm there, I usually go like November or before the summer kicks in, and it's hot enough already. So like right
Yeah.
now, I would, I don't know if I'd be able to survive Palm Springs in the middle of July. So who knows? That's the game plan now, but that could change in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, I was talking to this couple that hosts me, and I was just like, yeah, if I do move out here, I'm definitely gonna invest in like some kind of AC business because that's where the money's at.
Uh
I would
huh.
just, but you know what I really want to go do in Palm Springs? I really want to go visit the Trixie Motel.
Oh yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just think it'd be really fun to stay at some pink hotel.
Yeah. We've done mostly when we've gone, we've like done the Airbnbs, like because we usually go with like a group of friends. But
Hmm.
um a couple of years ago we discovered this resort called Santiago, which is a clothing optional resort. But what we really liked about it is that it is like a very chill vibe. Like it definitely has like a little bit of a cruisy feel, but it's not like in your face, and there aren't like porn stars by the pool like having live sex shows during the day. So like it's nice because we like being at a clothing optional place with a bunch of other queer and gay men, but you kind of, again, kind of pick your own adventure, and you don't feel like pressure to like be in this hypersexual environment the entire time, but it's always available to you. So we try to stay at Santiago Resort, and highly recommend it to anyone who enjoys Palm Springs or has never been. I think they would have a fabulous time there.
What's it called? Santiago Resort?
Santiago Resort, yeah, and they have, that was their first one, and then they opened two other ones, Twin Palms and another one that's name is escaping me right now, but it's all the same owners. I'm assuming the same vibe.
That's fun.
But it's really good. I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants to go to a clothing optional resort in Palm Springs, but is nervous about it being overwhelming, which I feel like the other places can't. Like CBGB, or no, is that the name of it?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Something like that. It's some sort of letters, and yeah, that one.
That's where they host like the piss parties and like the fisting parties, right?
Exactly. And like if that's what you want, that's then great. But like Santiago is not that at all. But you can still have your cruisy fun if you do want to partake in that. So that's why we like that vibe.
Yeah, that's a really fun vibe. Another thing that I recommend a lot of like baiters to do if they want to go and like be surrounded by a bunch of baiters and have that nudity option available to it. It's a jack off party called Healthy Friction. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I've seen it on Bait World and stuff before. I've never gone to an event, but
yeah, it's cool. I went last year in April, which is really nice, and it's starting to get hot already, which is really cool. And they basically rent out, I forgot where it's hosted, but you can literally check out rooms there, and then they have like pools, and it's basically just like walk outside your door butt naked and like kind of go out to the pool and kind of hang out with everybody, which is really fun. Yeah. It's not the best setup in terms of just like hosting. Like they got the resort, or the party needs to get a little bit better at that. But I just feel like that's a more of like a very baiter scenario, like scene. Like if you're really into masturbation and you don't want to feel the pressure of having sex or anything. That's a good one.
The Healthy Friction's been going on for a while. Like I feel, as someone who's been on Bait World for several years now, I feel like I've always gotten invited to it or seen the event invite. So
I met the original, the host, the guy that's been doing it since inception, I guess. And they host it in Palm Springs, and they hosted on the one in, I want to say, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, so those two locations are there.
Probably Fort Lauderdale or something. That's where all the like gays and clothing optional resorts are in Florida. So that would make sense. Yeah.
I love a clothing optional resort.
100%. I think everyone should experience it, whether they want to make it a sexual thing or not. Like if no one's been able to like be that free with themselves, either at like a clothing optional beach or a resort or what have you, I think gay, straight, queer, everyone should have that freedom and just experience it, because it's unique. It may not be for everyone, but at least give it a go.
Yeah, what could be so bad? It's just like naked bodies everywhere.
Exactly.
Speaking of naked bodies, I feel like following your Twitter, I feel like you're becoming a little bit more exposed. I feel like watching your journey, I feel like that's kind of been like the your, I don't know,
evolution.
Yeah, that's a good one. Evolution. Tell me about that. I feel like you masturbate, and then you also have like I think your husband kind of shows up. It's kind of something you're seeing too.
He does. Yeah, I would say my dating, especially in the world of Twitter, has absolutely evolved. Like I, like many other people, utilize Twitter as a place for porn once Tumblr shut down. So everyone started to navigate to Twitter. And then I feel like in 2020 with the pandemic, everyone who wasn't already on Twitter migrated over there as well. And so again, like many other people, 2020 was really where I started to post a lot more on Twitter in general. And at the time, my husband also created an account. So the two of us were just kind of exploring what we wanted to post, and it was mostly just the two of us together. And I would say initially my Twitter presence wasn't necessarily super like Bator focused, even though that's always something that's been part of my sexual practice. I made a very conscious decision as I continued to like see how the alt Twitter worlds were evolving. I really was like, I knew that was something that I wanted to lean more into, and also my husband got a little bit bored with posting on Twitter, and so I just kind of ran with it. And at some point, I want to say it was during a masturbation month. So like prior to a May, I kind of did a rebranding, if you will, of my Twitter, and made a conscious decision to kind of focus more on that baiting aspect of my content, if you will. Like, I use that word content super loosely because I don't even know if I consider myself like a content creator by any means. Like, I don't
I
do
mean,
any like
I think you are. I mean, you're making videos and
I
you're
yeah
like posting it for people to get off. You're
I
creating
have
content.
yeah, but I guess I don't use that word a lot because like I do it like super like off the cuff. Like I'm not someone who's like sitting here editing my videos super often. I'm not adding like
Yeah,
titles, and like there are other people that do such a
yeah,
beautiful job of
yeah,
creating and editing. Like I guess I create content, but I it's literally just what I post is directly what I just did. Like I literally do no editing to my videos.
yeah,
Um, but getting back to your original question, like when I made that conscious effort to really focus on baiting content on Twitter, that's also where I started to care less and less about being more exposed. When I first started off on Twitter, I definitely did not show my face. I had this, you know, I guess you can. I don't want to know. I don't know. I don't know if I would ever call it shame, if I'm being honest, but the fear
hmm
of being found out
mm.
and
Cautiousness, maybe.
cautiousness. Yeah, and then I just kept thinking more and more about it, and I don't know. That fear went away because I thought about a couple of things. I was like, one first and foremost, what is the worst thing that could happen if someone from my circle of friends or even someone from work were to see me naked or jerking off on Twitter? Like I kept thinking like what would happen? And I don't know, like that's why I didn't want to use the word shame, because I wouldn't have felt ashamed if any of my friends found me on Twitter or coworkers. I'm not ashamed of being a baiter.
Yeah,
Um, but
nice.
so for me, I just after I kind of had that realization, I just got a lot more comfortable with posting full face,
Yeah,
and that's definitely where I've been on my journey. I just don't I'm not afraid. I'm very proud of being a masturbator. And so I think that there's power in showing your full face and showing absolutely everything and being super open. And so that's where I'm at.
yeah. No, I really enjoy that. I feel like I can feel the same way when you talk about like what's the worst that can happen is someone finds out. Like,
Right.
and I think in the beginning when I first started kind of showing more of my body and my face, there was that fear, like, oh, what people are gonna say, like what's gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen, like what will the reaction be? But then I just
Yeah.
thought to myself, well, you know what? I surround myself and I want to surround myself with like intelligent people that if they do find it, we're gonna have a healthy conversation and be like, hey, I found this thing. Is that you masturbating? Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love it? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
um
And like
yeah, and
I was
yeah,
just gonna add, like I've also had moments where, people who have found me at my Twitter either through my Instagram when I kind of tease that sort of stuff, or I've found it on, Grinder and Scruff. I link my Twitter on those profiles. So I've had people
yeah,
through that have found me. And so like when they've told people in my close circle of friends have told me that they've looked at my Twitter account, like I actually kind of find that a little bit hot, if I'm being honest. Like I'm like I don't like, because one, like it opens up like, okay, like this friend is obviously a sexual being, and at some point
yeah,
they stumbled upon my Twitter, and I don't know, maybe it was able to help turn them on. Like I get a lot of satisfaction from hearing that I was helping to either turn people on or get them aroused. So like when
Yeah.
people tell me that currently on Twitter or Bait World and say like, oh my God, what you just posted was so hot, it got me so hard. Like I get so like turned on by that. So again, if a friend or someone found that, like I kind of think there's a little bit of an excitement there, as long as they're down with it. Because not everyone is, but
Well, I mean, listen,
most people should be.
if they're coming to you, they're just like, hey, I found this thing. They're looking for it. Like
Exactly.
they're in a space that's
Yeah.
like gonna like facilitate finding some kind of like butthole or like cock shot of yours.
Exactly.
So
Well,
I'm just
that
like, whatever. Like everyone enjoys
yeah.
porn. Why can't I be in porn too? Like, what's the
And,
problem?
and that was the thing with like relating with work specifically. I was like, okay, if
Yeah,
someone discovers that, it's like, well, they were clearly looking
e-
for it, right? Like I'm like,
exactly.
yeah, I have two separate Twitter accounts, as many people do. One for this type of content, one, my main account, and I don't see a lot of crossover. So like, if you're on Twitter and you're looking for porn, like you were specifically looking for that, and if you stumbled upon me, then you were clearly looking for it, and you shouldn't be
Mhm.
ashamed about looking at pornography, and I'm not ashamed about creating a form of pornography as well.
I totally agree. And there's this thing, I feel like nowadays people are less shocked by that information
Yeah, yeah,
than we would think to believe. Like just the
yeah,
other day, I told an ex-coworker, we used to work at the same company, we don't now, but I was just like, I really want to tell you this thing because I really feel like I'm in my journey now where I just kind of want to go full force. Like I'm just gonna
yeah.
go, I'm gonna a full force content creator, I'm gonna really invest in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel like I'd feel more comfortable if I just shared this aspect of my life with you. And I told her, it's just like, okay, like,
Yeah.
it's your
didn't
life.
didn't
Like,
didn't change a thing at all about
didn't
your
change,
friendship.
was
Yeah.
not phased. She's like, bitch, she's like, put pictures of your feet. People are making like 10 grand a month on this shit.
Yeah.
Like, you will buy me a ticket to Hawaii when we go on vacation. I'm just like, that's so true. Like, if
Yeah.
someone were to tell me that information too, I'd be like, great. Like, I'm rooting for you. Like you have ownership and autonomy over your own
Yeah.
sexual identity. Like you can fucking show it out to whoever you want.
Yeah.
Like no shame, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
always the goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Again, I feel like the past couple of years, it does feel like everyone has an alt Twitter account at this point, whether they
Yeah.
are, actively participating or just using it to observe. And,
Mhm.
that's the place that they watch porn. And I keep having this debate in my own mind of like, how good is it? Like, 'cause I do feel like so many people were able to be more confident with their sexuality and explore things that they weren't able to prior, which I think is obviously great positive things. But then I also worry on the flip side that there are people who are only who are getting stuck in this groove of, their sexuality always has their sexual activity is always having to be filmed or always having to be validated. Like I worry in this era of like social media and the TikTokification, if you will, of like pornography on Twitter now, and seeing that evolution. I just worry that there are people that rely so much on like the viewership, and I've got to get the interactions with followers and likes and retweets. Like, what is that doing to people's sexual image of themselves? Like, we know it does damage to a lot of people's self-image personally on social media. So I wonder the impact that it has
That's interesting.
on their sexuality. Like, I'm just curious, because I feel
That's
like
valid.
a lot of people are performing for their content, and so
Well,
I
do you ever feel that way? Do you ever look at other people's content and be like, fuck, I wish I could be buffer, or I wish I could be more hung, or I wish I could like fuck this guy? Like, I feel like just in this grand
mm,
scheme of things, like I feel like I do that as well too. And I always have to like take that break to say, wait a minute.
yeah, I would say it's less prevalent when you're specifically looking at like Bator content. I would say in the
Mm-hmm.
rest of like Twitter, I definitely feel like, there's definitely, the people that are full-time sex workers, content creators who are doing a lot of, fucking and that sort of thing. I feel like those people, I tend to look at them and be like, oh, I question, like, should I be having sex that way? I do wish that my body looked that way, or
Yeah.
could my dick be bigger? I find that I do that less and less when I'm looking at or interacting specifically with like the Bator community,
Yeah.
which
I
I feel
agree.
like is yeah, and that's something I also noticed. Like, I feel like there is very little drama, very little negativity in the Bator community space compared to other places that I see on Twitter. And I don't know if that's just, I don't know if that's specific to like the Bator community, or if that is something that happens in sort of any type of sexual or kink-based community. Like I'm not part of like the leather community or BDSM, so I can't speak from experience of is there a lot of positivity there, but I can
Yeah.
speak from my experience. Yeah, like I don't encounter a lot of negativity. I feel like either on places like Bait World or jerk off parties that I've been to, I do get to see positivity and celebration of a lot of different types of people, different body types, different dick sizes, different skin colors, like all of that is so present in the bait community. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know if that's Bator specific or if that is something that you can find again in the leather community or elsewhere, the furry community. Like I would hope that finding a community of sexually like-minded people is positive and affirming for everyone, but I don't know. I can't speak from experience outside of the Bator world.
Yeah. I think I can agree with that. And I think for me, when I look at the Bader community, I feel like there's not a lot of pressure to perform. It's kind of like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of pressure to go out and have your sex validated, because we're
Mm-hmm.
mostly just validating our own sex. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if I'm setting up a date or a fuck date and it's like a last minute consolation, I'm not bothered because
Mm.
I'm gonna have great sex regardless of the
Yeah.
outcome. And I
Yeah.
think it's really taking the edge off of my own sex. Like it's just like,
Mm.
oh, like I don't have to depend on someone else. I'm not
Mm.
scrolling through my like DMs or like my um text messages to find like my next trick.
Yeah.
I have my own
Yeah.
trick.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I'm just like
100%.
this is fine. Like on a Saturday night or like on a Sunday, Friday night, like I don't care. Like if I don't get some dick, I'm gonna have my own dick and I
Like
am happy with what I got. So
100%. And do you also find that as you continue to like explore your bait and become a better, even better baiter, do you feel like that connects to when you do have partnered sex, that you're a better sexual partner with them because of your baiting?
oh, like infinitely. I
Yeah.
feel like the only way I ever got good at sex was when I got good at my own sex.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just feel like it's so you begin to really understand what your own sexual energy is capable of. And even if you say you don't have it, like you begin to like harbor it and like
For
really,
sure.
because I just feel like everybody has the sexual power. It's widely different across the board, but I just think that's kind of one of the powers of masturbation, that you're really in
100%.
tune with your own body, and then you're able to say, this is what gets me off. I know how to work
Mm-hmm.
this thing, and I'm gonna do it to other people. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll find those people that are really into it and those that aren't. And that's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just everywhere you go.
Yeah. 100%. Like I fully agree. And, I think that, I've been with my now husband for 11 years. And I think that leaning into being a baiter has absolutely made me a better partner to him and better partner with other people when we have sex with other people. And it is exactly what you said. It's like getting more comfortable, not only with your body, but getting more comfortable with just, I guess I like the way that you put it, like your own kind of sexual energy, like just
Mhm.
being more in tune with that, I think is crucial for being a better lover, a better sexual partner with other people.
Yeah,
Um, and also being able to like, for me, I think so much about good sex is about good communication as well. And so
totally.
I would say like at the beginning of my relationship, one, I don't know if I fully identified as a baiter even 11 years ago, even though it's something I was doing often. I don't think I really had the language or felt like I could identify myself in that way.
Yeah,
And so being able to communicate to my husband now, and he's in the other room, he knows I'm having this conversation with you, and he obviously knows that I've been going to a lot more jerk off parties in the past couple of years. So him knowing and me being able to communicate that side of my sexuality to him just also opens up our our like sexual communication with each other, which I think is so crucial. I think, you know, someone who's been on bait world for many years, I think there's a lot of people, straight, gay, or otherwise, who are in partnered relationships who feel like they have to hide it from their partner, or their partner just doesn't understand it. And, you know, it's great that they can find their outlet, but I do think that there's so much power of like being able to be open with your partner, even if, you know, masturbation is mostly a, you know, a solo activity. He knows that I want to make space for it, you know, separate from him. And he has things that he does on his own. Like he's not a baiter by definition, but he has his own things he likes to explore sexually. And so the fact that him and I have had many conversations about it, we are allowed to have those kind of separate sexual experiences. But then when we do have sex together, it's so much better. It's just like we're just able to be so much more open, and we're exploring things individually that we bring back to together. So I'm very glad that I'm able to be as open as I can, and I hope that I can continue to evolve in that way as I, you know, continue to be a baiter online.
I know, we see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's those videos of like those ass shots of your husband, and you're just like boning him from the back.
You know, yes, yeah. And that's, you know, it's interesting because I also, you know, even before I met my husband, I mostly considered myself a bottom when I was having penetrative sex, and my husband is also leans that way as well. And so, like we were talking about earlier about getting in tune with your body through masturbation, I have become, I would like to think, a much better top, because of my masturbation. I'm able to last a whole lot longer than before when we first started, because I know when I'm getting close, or, you know, so again, the impact of my solo masturbation on my partner's sex life has been so beneficial, and I hope that everyone is able to. I hope and I believe that everyone should be able to have and explore their masturbation, but then bring that into any sort of partner sex that they may want to have. And not everyone wants to. It's totally fine if people are true solo sexuals. There's room for that as well, but that's not my personal journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, I think solo sexuality exists on a spectrum. There's like different degrees and variables, and there's different ways to explore that and like showcase that in your own life, which is always the goal. Like, I don't, you know, there's always just different ways to be a beta. There's not just that one way.
Yeah.
How long have you been on Bait World?
Ooh, I mean, I don't know. I feel like when I looked at it, I've been on it for, I think the account that I have now is about 10 years old.
Okay, damn.
So I've been on it for a while, and it's interesting, you know, prior to Bait World, I don't know if you're familiar with it, or I don't know who remembers this website prior to Bait World, and it still exists today, but have you heard of Jack in World?
No.
That's weird. Like, it's so interesting because I don't see it referenced at all. And it is a website that approaches masturbation from like a super educational point of view. So it's not like a social media website like Bait World is. But Jack in World, it's a place where literally it is the place where teenage Brian learned a lot of the terminology in terms of baiting that I still use today. So it talks about various stroking techniques. It talks about edging. It talks about techniques to be an edger. It has stories of people coming out as masturbators. And I don't know exactly how I stumbled upon it. You know, I was a child of the internet. I grew up, you know, AOL chat rooms, AIM, all of that stuff was like super formative to my upbringing, and also kind of led into my sexuality as well. But I do remember stumbling upon Jack in World and just being enamored by it. Like I had already been, you know, masturbating at that point when I discovered it, but what I read on Jack in World 1, because it came from such a educational point of view, there was no shame in it. Like, they didn't even talk about shame at all. It was just very much matter of fact, like, here's different techniques, you know, backstroke, front stroke, all these kind of random things. And so I just felt like I got to learn so much from it. So everyone
Mm.
always talks about Bait World, but like I've never heard anyone reference Jackin World, and it still exists today. The website is like a little bit old school, and like I said, it almost functions more like a message board than anything.
Okay.
Um, but it was absolutely formative in terms of me here, at least hearing a lot of the terminology that we baiters still use to this day. Like I don't know if I would have learned about edging until much later, but I learned about it on Jack and
Yeah.
World.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so interesting, Jack and World.
yeah. And then that eventually led to, to me finding Bait World eventually. And I feel like I had an account for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
in my early 20s, and then let that kind of fall apart. And then, yeah, about 10 years ago, I recreated an account. And yeah, I love Bait World. Bait World is a special place on the internet for me. I don't know how you feel about it.
I 100% agree. Like I remember discovering Bait World when I was living in New York. I'd met a
Mm,
baiter, and he was just like, "Do you know Bait World?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea."
mm,
And that just kind of opened up everything to me. And then when I got there, I was just like, "Oh, like this is where I'm meant to be," or rather,
mm.
not where I'm meant to be, but like I was like, "This is a real thing." Like it just became like real. Like it wasn't just
Yeah.
in my head. Like it just wasn't like at that time when I was first coming out, I just was just like not into sex at all. Like I just wasn't
Mm,
good at it. I didn't
mm,
like it. I had a lot of shame with regards to anal sex. And so I
mm.
was just like, this isn't really a thing for me. And then um I discovered Bait World, and then
Yeah.
again, like through masturbation, I really learned that I enjoy other sexual acts, and so that's kind of once I first got the basis of my masturbation down. Like once I knew I was really good at that, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that that could always be my blueprint of anything sexual in my life.
Mm,
Then I started to experiment with like penetrative
mm.
sex, and then that
Got it.
became like its own thing. And then right now I'm really into like pup play, like
Oh, interesting. Hey, yeah. Like full
yeah.
mat, they like put the hood and everything on, and that's your,
Yeah, not necessarily like furries, although I think furries are cool. Like they'd be
yeah.
dressing up in like some furry costumes and having like a bomb time. But
Uh-huh.
I just recently bought myself a hood.
Nice.
Um and I just started talking to this young baiter. He's really into like the pup scene. And so I started getting into like pup play and like pup
It's
headspace and all
interesting.
all these cartoons of like
Yeah.
animals just like doing it. And I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this, but it's certainly interesting.
I
Maybe
love
I'm
it.
just more attracted to like the actual like illustration. I think they're so cool. Like
Mm,
I've always been a
yeah.
fan of like artistic work that way. And so when it collides with any kind of sexual aspect, I'm all for it. Like I'm really
Well, I
interested.
mean, speaking of Jack and World, like I said, like they had, it wasn't explicit cartoons, but something I remember from Jack and World. It was almost like New Yorker style cartoons, like you would find in like the New Yorker magazine, in terms of that sort of
Yeah,
sarcastic, like, one image with like a little caption, like, so
yeah.
like it's funny you mentioned cartoons. And yeah, that I remember going to the website because they rotated through it every single day, and every time I was on there, that was one place that I made sure to stop off. It's like, where's the little funny cartoon about masturbation? Like, I don't know, I always, again, like this website was like crucial to like my formative like masturbation years as a teenager. Like it was, I learned and tried so many different things because of it. I remember one technique that I learned. This was before like fleshlights were a thing, and I'm sure this is a technique that a lot of other people do, but I read about it on Jack and World, and it was taking a Ziploc bag and putting lube or some sort of baby oil in it, and then sticking it in between your mattress and your box spring,
Oh yeah, okay.
and then being able to fuck it basically. Um, and that is absolutely a technique that I learned on Jack and World and employed often. Because I loved it, because that's also how I first started learning how to masturbate, was through like pillow humping and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
like that whole action of thrusting, humping, what have you, was
I
always super interesting to me. But I started doing that before I was ejaculating, And so once that started to happen, I needed to figure out a different way to get that kind of humping action out, but also not creating a mess all over my entire pillow. So the Ziploc bag technique was perfect because it just captured everything and you just threw it away in the garbage, and no one in your house, if you live with your parents like I did, was none the wiser to it.
That's
So
funny.
it was perfect. It was like, that's like the one like masturbation technique that will always stick out in my mind. And again, it's thanks to Jack and World.
Just imagine your mom be like, "Where are all my Ziploc bags? God damn it! Where are they
He
all
probably was.
going?"
That and baby oil, like that was disappearing probably all the time in my parents' house because I
Yeah,
didn't know how to, buy lube at that point. But I'm sure I
yeah.
found it on Jack and World. But baby oil was my lube of choice back in the
Baby
day.
oil, it's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
But bed humping was something that I did too. Like I remember always just waking up with a boner. Just I can even remember like waking up from sleep, like humping my bed. Like I wouldn't even be conscious of it. Like I would just like wake up and my dick would be like on my mattress. Like it felt so good. Like it kind of like
Interesting.
the pressure of it hurt, but it felt
Yeah,
really good. I do remember
interesting.
that. Like I do remember always kind of like God, I was always masturbating in high school. Like I can remember like masturbating in the shower
Oh yeah.
before school, and then right when I got home, and then in
Mm.
bed. And I can't imagine the amount of times that I got walked in on with my dick in my hand. And I'm just like, that's just good for not knocking. I mean,
Yeah,
back then I was like super embarrassed, but if I had the confidence that I have now, I'd be like, that's your fault, bro.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I don't remember getting caught, if I'm being honest, but I also had pretty progressive parents in that
Nice.
I was out in high school, and I also had a boyfriend, my junior and senior year, and my parents were pretty accepting about letting him. He didn't sleep over, but he did stay over, and our doors were shut often, and we were always fooling around. And my parents would always knock, but there would always be a delay because we would have
Sure.
to cover up whatever we were doing in that moment. And my parents are stupid, so I know they knew, but for whatever
Sure.
reason, I think their mind was like, I guess they're doing it here. They're not doing. I don't know what. Well, I don't know what was going through my parents' mind, but I know that they know that I was sexually active with my boyfriend, and so they had to know that I was also jerking off all the time as well. Like parents
Yeah.
know they aren't
Parents,
stupid.
yeah. I think yes, I absolutely know. I for sure know that my parents. I think I like moved when I came back from New York. I like moved into back home for a little while to help parents who were going through some difficulties.
Mm,
And I was masturbating and straight up got walked in on, and my dick was fully in my hands, and I was like, huh? It was just that awkward moment of like looking at each other and like them slowly backing out of the room.
yeah.
But I'm just like,
Oopsie.
bro, like you're fucking
Yeah.
with like, a grown ass man, like with his private time. Like, what did you expect? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm fucking horny. I can't be bringing boys home here, so I gotta work the dick. But
Was this
at that time, it was the first time. At that time, it was like the beginnings of like what my soul sexuality would be. So I
okay?
wasn't really interested in anyone anyway. But I was just
Yeah.
like fucking myself all kinds of sideways because I was
Yeah.
just like, this feels good. What about this? And what about that? Oh, I didn't try that. And I was just like, what are all these things? I swear to God, I
Yeah.
was just like masturbating 5 times a day
Yeah.
on my
No, when
back, upside down.
oh
Like,
yeah. Oh, I mean 100%. I mean like I mean all kinds of tricks and different ways. Like I remember like
mhm.
oftentimes, laying on the bed and putting my legs over so I could just, shoot in my mouth type situation. Like all I remember like being very uh curious about trying absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
I feel like back then I could get away with it because it's a little bit more flexible. I can't
yeah.
these days.
I know. I know. Oh, our youth.
I know. I know.
I was going to ask you. You were saying like you had to go back to your parents' place, and they, is it the same place that you grew up? Is it the same house that you grew up in? And did you find that when you were back there masturbating again as an older adult, how did you find being back in that space? Because my parents still live in the same place that I grew up, so I go home often, and
Yeah.
so I'm just curious, I found it kind of hot to be back in the same bedroom that I was like, oh wait, this is where I learned how to masturbate. I was in the bathroom, jerking off. Like I had all these memories of, teenage Brian learning himself. And so now being adult Brian back in that same space, I found
Yeah,
I found it kind of hot. Like, did you as well or no?
no.
No, why
Not
not?
only because I just have a lot of trauma about living at home.
Okay. Fair. Okay.
So, like a lot of the times when I think back about my life, a lot of it was just disassociated.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of it. But I do remember more. Like I just the most impactful sexual phase of my life happened when I was in New York.
Okay.
That was when everything kind of really changed for me. I was like
Mm,
20. When did I graduate art school? I was like probably 30, maybe.
okay.
Yeah, 30. Um, and I went to New York. I've told this story, but like it was just a place of like yes to everything, like yes
Mm,
to like different sex acts and different genders and different
hmm
ethnicities, and like I just wanted to try anything and everything because
hmm
there was really no one that I could turn to and be like, oh, am I into this, or how do you feel
hmm
about that? Like I didn't talk to anybody about that. I was like, if my dick is feeling it, I'm
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of trial and error. I got into a lot of seedy situations,
Yeah.
but I think it builds character.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because not not many people I feel like have that approach in terms of say yes to anything. And I mean, I think maybe queer people might be more open to that, but like
Yeah.
I feel like especially a lot of straight people don't have, for various reasons, aren't open to exploring and being open and saying yes to everything. So I think it's really powerful that you were able to do that in your life, because it
I
obviously has made you who you are today and much more stronger and confident because of it. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that more people aren't able to do that.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's just I've always associated that with our baiter superpower. Like as
Mm,
baiters, as masturbators, a lot of our sex is mental, and so we can really go
mm,
there in our minds. And so we're
mm-hmm.
constantly thinking of the most wild, amazing, crazy sex that we could possibly
Yeah.
have. But I think also too, since we're not solely focused on penetrative sex, we're
Mm,
exploring other different avenues of sex, like phone sex and
yeah.
BDSM play and pup play.
Mm-hmm.
And so like all these different, we're more inclined to uh dabble in kinks and
Yeah.
fetishes, whereas people who are mainly focused on like missionary sex are just like, I want missionary sex and that's it. When there's like
Yeah.
a vast array, it's like a fruit salad,
how
bro. Like
how how boring.
I mean, listen, I like a good missionary sex.
Yeah.
I like to look at these boys that I'm fucking, these pretty boys. But
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just fun to get with someone and just be like, hey, listen, why don't we do other stuff? And then also
Yeah.
too, it's taught myself to like get rid of like a lot of the shame that I have
Yeah.
around like being into feet or
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
into piss play, or like I think
Mm-hmm.
also too, like once you become confident in the sex that really turns you on, you're able to have a better, more fulfilling conversation like we are now. Like it's
Yeah.
like
100%.
we're having this. I would have this chat at brunch. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't. It's not something that's taboo to me.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with that. And I mean, it's interesting, like going back to the whole like Twitter space and everything. Like I have Twitter and Bait World. Like I feel like I have been able to build and find so many great people through these sites and through masturbation. Like I
Yeah.
have, like so many of my circle of friends here in New York are people that I have been able to like bait with or I've met because of Twitter or Bait World. And we've formed these friendships and relationships that are multifaceted in that, we hang out and go to lunches, dinners, drinks out and hanging, that sort of situation. And there are times when we're hanging out naked and jerking off. And that's not what my experience was in my 20s. I had my circle of friends and I had like people that I slept with and hooked up with, and very rarely did they intersect. And
Mhm.
I don't know if it's just because I'm getting more confident with being a baiter, or because this is where I'm meeting more people is through Bait World and Twitter, or maybe it's just that I'm just getting older and care less about keeping those things separate. But it is really interesting to now have these friendships and relationships that are, I'm able to have these conversations with people. I mean, even, but it's funny, my old circle of friends who I'm still really good friends with, like we still don't really broach the subject of sex with them. It's like this weird thing. It's almost like, you know, I don't want to say it's like a separate or a past life by any means, but it kind of
Mm-hmm.
is from a past time. And it's just interesting that that circle of friends has kind of stayed in the past and hasn't necessarily kept up with the evolution of my own sexual being. Like, again, I'm not like ashamed of it by any means. And
Yeah.
most of them know that I have, Twitter and are aware of it, but it's not the open topic of conversation like it is with friends that I've met more recently through these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting to still feel like I have this like separation, but I want to be more open with anyone. It's not
Yeah.
there with that old group of friends yet.
Yeah. It takes time. I definitely feel like it's intentional, like to
Mm,
cultivate
yeah,
this lifestyle and surround yourself with people that you feel confident in
yeah,
sharing sexual information. And I do agree with that. I feel like people maybe 7 years ago would not
mm,
appreciate or really understand this version of
yeah,
men today. And
mm-hmm,
so um I do really enjoy spaces like Big World because I am meeting new people that have shared interests. And
mm-hmm,
that's what you want to do in life, right? Like if you
mm-hmm,
find an interest, it could be anything. It could be painting, it could be
mm-hmm,
sports, it could be cars. Like you're gonna gravitate to that world and you're gonna
yeah,
find people to have conversations about
mm-hmm,
cars with. It's just so
mm-hmm,
happy we're having conversations about balls and taints. Like
absolutely.
that's cool. I love balls and taints.
Yeah, don't talk to me about a muffler or brake
I don't
pad.
know.
Like I was like struggling to even think of another car part to mention, but that's
I don't know.
not my gig.
I don't know shit about cars, but I know a lot
Mm-hmm.
about my dick.
Absolutely. I'll talk about that all day, every day.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know, it's just fun to talk about sex. Like,
Yeah,
why
I
not?
totally agree.
Just share a story, have a mimosa, hang
A
out.
hundred percent. 100%.
What's your evolution here? Like what do you foresee yourself in the future in terms of like your sexual work?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it is about helping people to discover their best sexual selves. Like I think
Mm,
because I keep referencing Jack and Rolls, and I think this conversation is even reinforcing it for me. But I like bringing a little bit of like an educational spin to my content, and I don't want to, I don't think I want to be as literal as being like, here's how you do this stroking technique, or here's, like literal step by step. I think part of me is I'm hopefully through the content, the videos that I'm putting out there, I'm hoping people are able to visually learn just a couple of things by watching me. If people have questions, I want people to feel like they can approach me on social media and on Twitter. Like I like the education aspect that can come from these social media websites. And,
yeah.
I think like everything we've been talking about, I think everyone can benefit from tapping into their own, sexual being and being comfortable and confident with it. And if I can have any small part in helping other people being more confident and more in tune with their sexual being through masturbation, then like that is huge for me. Like I think that it is, because again, it was so beneficial and powerful for me to find that resource and find Bait World, find Jack and World, find people that could help teach me about masturbation, that I want to be able to pay that forward a little bit and help people tap into that. And like I said before, it doesn't hurt that I also, get off on showing off. So it's like this double, it's positives in two worlds, is that I get to continue to tap into that exhibitionist side of me. And I love hearing, like I said, all the great comments from people saying like, oh, what you just posted just got me so hard. It really got me off. Like I thrive on that. I love that. But again, if I also get people who are like, oh, I learned something from you, then that would be having all of that come together in one package would just be exactly where I would want my content to evolve into, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that approach. I feel like, yeah, I can relate to a lot of things that you said. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
as long as people continue to learn and gain something from,
Yeah.
mine, I just felt like if I was gonna really enter this space, it just couldn't be enough to just have sex on camera, which is great, make your money, do your thing. But I don't know, like I think I mentioned in the past, like when I really did come into this space, I think fundamentally at its core,
Yeah.
really what I was trying to do is like make friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
was just at a really lonely place in my life where I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, like I know I'm a masturbator. The friends that I currently have aren't really vibing and they just don't understand. I got to look for
Mm.
other sources and resources
Mm.
and outlets to really build community. And I think that fundamentally that's really, really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think I have it for sure now. Like I've met so many different beaters. I've met people that I consider friends now, like
Mm-hmm.
long time people that I've been talking to for years,
Mm-hmm.
solely based on this community.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been like a really fun time. It just feels like the space is ours, and it's just like we're getting a lot of traction, like we're getting a lot of
Mm-hmm.
visibility, and I think it's people are starting to come around and being like, "What the fuck is gooning?"
Yeah. I mean, like it is so interesting. You talk about it becoming, I don't know if I would throw out the word like mainstream by any means, but
Mainstream, yeah.
like there is more visibility. And, I think
Mhm.
even just the fact that people on, Scruff and Grinder have options to pick side as a sexual position, like that was what, only a couple of years ago, if that was an option. So like
Yeah.
our community is quickly, maybe not quickly, but recently evolving to, speak to this space. And I think so many people, especially in the gay world, like what I think we make jokes about, like people like to make top and bottom their whole personality, right? If you're top, you act this way, you're bottom, you act this way. And I
Yeah.
think that I don't want to say, I don't know what word to use. I think it impacted a lot of people in terms of how they thought about what they had to do to be
Mm.
sexual in the community. And, I think a lot of people may have known back then that they weren't really into penetrative sex, but felt super pressured to. I think you
Mm.
mentioned a little bit about that yourself. I think a little bit of like, again, like I think growing up when I did, finding out about gay sex in general was difficult because where were you getting that information? Like one, if you were lucky to get any sort of sexual education period in school or what have you. Second of all,
Yeah.
you're not getting anything that was queer, gay specific. So we learned a lot of it through porn. We learned a lot of it through limited things we saw on television and movies. And so there was a lot of stereotypes that I think that impacted a lot of us as we were growing up, of like, this is how we have to have sex. We have to be a top or we have to be a bottom. And these are
Mhm.
the implications it means. If I am a bottom, then it means that I'm the more feminine one. I'm the girl. Like there's all these like stereotypes that I think are damaging to a lot of how people were brought up and learned about their sexuality in the gay space. That
Yeah.
it is really interesting in the past couple of years to see the evolution and people finally embracing that they don't have to be into penetrative sex. They don't even have to be into sex with other people. And I
Yeah.
just think there's a lot more power to that now that was less visible, even just 5 years ago.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And also too, like I just feel like we're at a time now where we really are owning and taking back our sexual power. Like we're not
Mm-hmm.
sitting around and being dictated by these large studios, like what is sexy, like
Yeah.
what is the sex
Mm-hmm.
to obtain. It's like, no, like we're
Mm-hmm.
owning that and we're saying, no, this is the sex that I have. Like there's so many, I look at so much different porn, like different
Yeah.
ages and body types and trans and
Huh?
group and polyamorous and black, Asian. And I just think that we need people like us, people in the
Mm-hmm.
sex industry, or people who are just like really fans of sex, like
Mm-hmm.
show up and show out, because it really is about representation. I love seeing people like me
Yeah.
on screen. Like who's one of my favorite performers? God, I think it's Tony Zaddy Tony. He has that
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
giant heart on it. He's so
Mm-hmm.
sexy
Mm-hmm.
because he's so
Yeah, for sure.
thickums. And when I look at
Yeah.
him, I'm just like, we have like the similar body types. And I'm just like, if
Yeah.
he's out there having a great time,
Yeah.
it means I can do it too. And it's really empowering to see
Yeah.
yourself represented in mainstream porn because you're just like, oh, it's not all about buff white. I remember back in the day when I'm growing up, it was all about Chi Chi LaRue.
Oh
Like
yeah, 100%.
Chi
Yeah.
LaRue was the shit, but
Yeah.
Chi LaRue had was like tall, white,
Uh-huh.
muscle, cis, big dick, bubble butt boys. And
Oh
you're
yeah.
just
I
like,
mean, I was, again, showing my age, but like downloading on Kazaa. I was like a fan. I was typing in
oh, Mr.
Bella. Yeah,
Kazaa.
oh yeah. I was Kazaa. That's where I was downloading my porn, but I was searching for Bella Me, and like that was,
Yes.
and exactly what you're saying,
That was
hairless,
it.
beautiful twinks, and so that was what I
Let me
got off
tell
to.
you
But
how
that's
much
all there was.
I could go on another. That's a whole other episode for me. But the amount of damage that shit caused to me for someone of color, like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
my hair was never like that. I got the
Mm-hmm.
darkest eyes. I got the
Mm-hmm.
hairiest body. I got love
Mm-hmm.
handles everywhere for days, and just like it's so detrimental. So now there really is a joy, and I just feel like a
Mm,
sense of celebration when I go
yeah.
onto Twitter, when I actively look for the porn that really is going to turn me on,
Yeah.
and say, holy shit, that guy looks just like me and is having a really great time. I can do that too.
Yeah.
Another guy, a really huge guy that's big, Boomer Banks.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Boomer Banks is amazing. He's still Mexican, I'm
Yep.
Mexican, so like I love him because every time he fucks, I'm just like I see myself.
Yeah.
And I don't look like the guy, but it's nice to like have that
Yeah.
representation to say, look at this guy, he's like
Yeah.
he straight up looks Mexican as fuck, to like
Yeah. Yeah.
have him be in mainstream porn, and for me to be like, yeah, that's my people that I can see myself in.
Yeah.
It's nice.
I really like the way that you put it at the beginning was like, as we've moved, like we are the ones who are creating it now. Like it has,
Mhm.
it's true. I knew this, but like, it's just like the way you said it of like, the mainstream porn studios are no longer the ones that are in power anymore. It is individuals. It is, smaller groups of people that are creating content. And, I think for me, I still see, the expected body types and people still have the most following, right? If you are got a six pack and you're white and you're tall with a big dick and blue eyes, like you probably have 300,000 followers. Like that is the reality, I think, of what happens in our world. And that is
Yeah.
right, wrong, or otherwise still the thing that many people think is attractive.
Mhm.
But there are so many other great content creators that maybe don't have, again, astronomical follower count, but they're still creating content that is, empowering for them. It is showing off their own body type. And I think that is what I love about Twitter. The one positive thing about that social network is that you are able
Yeah.
to curate, like you said, curate your own group of people. And I think if you're conscious about the people that you're following, like obviously I try to be very centered on following baiters, but like I try to make sure I'm following baiters of all different shapes, sizes, everything. And so I make sure that I'm seeing a lot more diversity in the porn that I'm consuming now because I'm consciously going after it and curating my
Mhm.
Twitter feed that way. But
Yeah.
those options weren't available, 12, 15 plus years ago. And again, it was
Yeah.
the Bellamy's, the Sean Cody's of the world, all of the above were
Oh,
the
good.
were the blueprint, as it were.
No, I I totally agree too. And I don't think people talk too much about like the amount of time it takes to unlearn all of that. Like,
Mhm.
growing up in my teenage years, I grew up in the 90s, and so like that was what it was. I know
Mhm.
is it you when you're is it you that you have it on Instagram or on your Twitter where it's like I used to what was it? You quote
XY magazine.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why my username is XYBK Bry. One, because it rhymes a little bit, but no, like XY magazine
I
was,
remember XY.
I mean, very formative as well. I mean, one, again, I gravitated towards it because it was a magazine that you could purchase that had a gay spin that wasn't it wasn't like a Playgirl type thing. It wasn't
Yeah.
porn, but
It was gay as fuck though.
yeah, it was gay as fuck, absolutely. But who it showed was basically white, hairless Twinkie boys.
Right,
So
which
they,
is
yeah.
which is again detrimental. And so
Yeah.
I would navigate, and I'm speaking from personal experience. I would
Yeah.
navigate to these gay places, and again, it was always constantly
Mm-hmm.
not accepted, or either that or it was fetishized, which is
Mm-hmm.
another crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it did take me years to say, like for a long time I wouldn't even look at like Latino porn because I was so like
Mm.
not invested in my own identity, because I was just like, this isn't what is good, or this isn't, I'm using air
Mm.
quotes here,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is right. And so it's a hard, rocky, lonely journey to be able to like crawl
Mm-hmm.
yourself out of that, and then you're like starting at this place, you're just like, okay, well, what really is going to turn me on now?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
also like equally as exciting, because then you have, the choice and options to be like, well, I'm
Yeah.
not looking at that, I'm looking at
Yeah.
this. And I
Yeah.
think also too, like the birth of internet porn immensely helped, because I have
100.
a choice at the palm of my hand,
Right.
essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess, like I was saying earlier, I'm worried about people who came up in the world of Twitter porn and how that's impacting, how they perform, how they feel like they have to perform sexually. I think there's, again, questions and
Yeah.
debates on like how that's impacting, but I guess a good positive, like we've been talking through, is that they have the freedom of choice now, like because you can
Mhm.
find so many different types of porn on Twitter, because individuals are creating so many different types of porn. Like it is, I never thought about it in that way, that they aren't being necessarily dictated towards these huge mega porn studio companies of like, here's the type of porn you need to be consuming. Nowadays you do have
Yeah.
so much more freedom of choice, and I didn't think about it that way for the younger generation. I
Yeah.
was just always worried that I'm like, do they think that everything has to be filmed? Like that's the worry that I always have, is like, does every sex act have to be captured on film? It just doesn't look as fun or exciting that way. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But I also too, like, I just feel like it turned, you get those like the P is it PPV shots, POV shots, point of view.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um that's what turned me on the most. And even now when I'm like talking to other baiters, or like we're having like some Skype session, I'll pull up a video and they'll just be like, this is too produced. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's
Mm-hmm.
like an OnlyFans orgy. It's like, no, no, no. I want like dirty,
uh,
amateur, like
yeah.
not anonymous, like flash
Mm,
on camera shit. And I was just like, oh,
right.
y'all looking for the real.
I love it.
Out of this OnlyFans collab shit, you're all looking for that seedy
All right.
fucking underground shit, which is, that's cool too.
It's hot too.
Trust me, you get into like this like spiral of porn, and you go into
Oh
the dark deep web. I pull out and I'm just like, I'm filthy.
yeah.
I need a bath.
Yeah. Is that one of your favorite things to do, is as you're dating with other people, is to like get into like the porn hole, if you will, in terms of just getting deeper and deeper? Is that a big thing that you like to explore? Or?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've always loved and I had a lot of shame about was verbal. Like I love phone sex. I
Mm-hmm.
just love talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of the reason why a lot of people want to go on cam with me and like have cam sex, but I get really
Mm-hmm.
bored, because it's just like,
Mm,
yes, you're beautiful, I see you, we're having a
yeah.
moment. Um, but I want to see people fuck. And so one of the
Mm,
big things that I'm really into is like going on a Skype call, sharing my screen, and then
uh-huh.
watching porn together as we're
Mm.
verbally talking about this porn.
Oh, so you
And
you guys
so
you guys aren't even seeing each other. You're just watching this, like,
yeah, I'm not even
okay,
seeing the other
yeah,
person. I'm literally just listening to them get off. And so it's really
yeah.
fun when you get like 2, 3, 4 people on the same call and
Mm-hmm.
we're all watching the porn together. And
Mm-hmm.
you're basically just like commenting on like sex and like baiting, and like it becomes like this like bro party
Yeah.
sex
Uh-huh.
moment. Which is really fun, because then I don't know, maybe I'm too overstimulated, because if I were to do that in like a party, like I just feel like there's so many things that I have to pay attention to. Whereas
Yeah.
if I'm by myself, all I have is voice and porn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, I get
Yeah.
really distracted here. That's just my ADD.
See, for me, I'm the verbal part is important, but for me, it is more about like the camming experience. Like that is why I've been on Bait World as long as I have. Is
Yeah.
I do love the Bait World vid chat in general.
Yeah.
I I like going on there, and I like, again, tapping into that exhibitionist side of seeing who's watching me, who's getting off because of me.
Yeah.
you know, and I also, you know, I'm not afraid to admit that I also like watching myself pleasure myself. Like that sounds a bit narcissistic to say, but there are times, and I see you're shaking, you're nodding your head in agreement. Like I feel like a lot of daters feel this way of like, it is hot to watch yourself. Like, and there are times where I have my own camera on, like I'm the biggest thing on the screen sometimes when I'm in the Bait World vid chat. And it's like, because I'm able to like, it just gets me even more turned on to like watch myself. And I know other people are watching me, but like there are moments where I just go deep into myself. And again, it sounds like so narcissistic to say that out loud, but it is something that I find super hot and super attractive.
I agree too. Like I love watching myself sag. I love watching myself have sex with other people. Like I love watching myself top. I do think that there is I feel like a lot of baiters can be on the autosexual spectrum, and autosexuality just simply means you're turned on by your own appearance or your own sex. Yeah, I think that's normal too.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because
a lot of people like,
because I feel like people were recording each other and then you're sending those things out to people, so you're watching your. Sometimes when I'm by myself, I'll set up my phone so it's like the video facing me, but I'm not recording. It's just the video on, so I can see myself in real time.
Done that too.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is like.
Yeah.
And I guess I think about, you know, other content that I've watched, or even like I think the more recent like Bait World, Bait Off. They had the mirror bait, so I know like that's a thing of like watching yourself in a mirror. Like I guess I do that sometimes, but since I'm on, you know, the vid chat, I guess that's the mirror that I reflect back on, is the vid chat. I like also having an audience, a larger group of people. I think that's part of it for me. Like I actually don't do a lot of like one-on-one cams or like Skype with people, because I would rather be in the Bait World vid chat and having, you know, 20 to 30 people watching me. That excites me of the number of people partaking in it. So yeah, like I have had people on Twitter or, you know, through Scruff who I have one person who's like very much into like underwear, and he wants to like have me show off in underwear for him. So I've talked about it, but it isn't something that I have done currently, but add it to the list, and maybe something we'll have to explore soon.
I'm always adding stuff to the list. People ask me
100%.
People ask me some random things, and I'm just like, I've never done it. I don't know if I possibly can't. Someone wanted me to like flip over and come on my face. I'm like, physically not gonna happen, buddy. But I can do this for you.
Here's the option I've got for you.
Yeah, this is something that I can physically do with my body. So we're gonna go ahead and enjoy that part. I don't know about the rest. Yeah, well, what a great chat. I enjoyed so much chatting with you. I love being able to talk to other baiters about like their scene and why they do it and why they do it for the culture. And so it's so nice. It's so nice to build community and just showcase our wonderful family of baiters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can everybody find you? Like, where can people get your stuff?
Yeah, so everyone can find me. Twitter is the place where I'm on the most. My Twitter username is at xy_BK BRY. And you can also find me on Bait World, XYBK BRY, no underscores there. You can also find me on Instagram, xy.bkbry. I've been, my account's been disabled at different places for various reasons. So that's why they're similar, but slightly different. But Twitter is the place where you can find me the easiest. And that's where I have and post the biggest following. So yeah.
Nice. I'm on your Twitter now. Very cool. First baiter in Brooklyn.
That's me.
And you also have a Just for Fans.
I do have a Just for Fans. Yeah. And it's at xy_BK BRY. Yeah. Yeah.
And your birthday is October 21st.
It is. I am a Libra.
It's coming up.
Yeah. yeah, crazy enough. I know. I don't want to talk about fall yet because let's enjoy summer. But yeah, it'll be here before we know it. Like,
I
yeah,
love fall.
I do too. I do
Um,
too. I just don't want it. I don't want summer to go away yet. Like, I feel like we're just in it right now, and I want to
well, I
enjoy
know
summer.
it's different from New York. If I was in New York,
Yeah,
I'd be like,
yeah,
give me all the summer.
yeah, yeah.
But in LA, it's like 24/7 summer. So I'm just like, I
It
need the
is.
fall. And it's getting
Yeah,
hot now too. And I'm just like, ay, ay, ay.
yeah. I know. It's like muggy here too. So it's like I say that as long as I get to stay in my apartment in air conditioning, I'm totally happy for summer. But yeah.
That's what I was gonna do. I was thinking right after this, I was like, I'm gonna go shopping, but I'm like, I'm gonna wait till it's like fucking 7 o'clock because it's like too
Mm-hmm.
hot. It's way
It
too
is.
hot.
It's gross out today, so I'm probably gonna go out and play some video games on my couch after this.
Me too. What do
Perfect.
you what
Smoke a bowl.
what what platform do you play? The Switch?
I play the Switch. Yeah, I'm not a super like big gamer, but I'm into like the Mario Kart,
Same.
Pokemon
I'm
here and
playing like
there.
I'm playing the new Wave 5, and it's really
Yeah,
nice. It's really
absolutely. So
nice.
so am I. Yeah, I'm super stoked for it.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I'm not a huge gamer, but that Nintendo stuff is always my gig.
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, Brian. Well, thanks so much. I
Yeah, thanks
know
for
that
having me.
everyone listening is gonna get some really great stuff out of it, and we're gonna keep in touch, and we'll
Yeah,
catch you online.
perfect. Sounds good. Thanks for chatting with me.
Bye, bye,
Bye
y'all.
now. Bye.